The wind was sharp that morning, slicing through the trees like whispers of something unspoken. Deep in the heart of the forest, far away from city noise and paved roads, a quiet tension hung in the air. It wasn't just the cold or the coming storm. It was something else, something hidden, something watching. And it wouldn't be long before a call for help would break the silence. It started with a single call from a local hiker, shaky voice, breathless words, and a sense of urgency that left no room for doubt. He had spotted what looked like a wolf near the edge of the woods, limping, barely able to stand, its fur matted with blood, mud, and something else, something crawling. Next to her, barely visible through the underbrush, was a tiny cub, silent. Still, alive, but just barely. The moment the call came through, the rescue team was already in motion. This wasn't their first mission, and it wouldn't be their last. But something about this one felt different. The urgency, the fear in the caller's voice, the unknown. In all their years of animal rescue, they had never faced a situation quite like this. At the head of the team was Maya, a soft-spoken wildlife expert with a heart bigger than the mountain she climbed. She'd seen the worst of what nature and neglect could do, but she'd also witnessed miracles. Alongside her was Dan, a rugged, quiet man whose calm eyes missed nothing, and Aaliyah, their newest team member, young but full of fire, always ready to leap before thinking twice. Together, they formed a trio that had rescued everything from trapped deer to abandoned bear cubs, but nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to face. By the time they reached the edge of the forest, the sun had already dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows over the earth. The trees stood tall and quiet, like silent sentinels, hiding secrets beneath their bark. The smell hit them first: earth, decay, and sickness. They followed the faint trail of broken branches and muddy paw prints, moving slowly, carefully, their voices low. No sudden movements, no loud sounds. Just steady steps forward. And then they saw her. The wolf was lying on her side, her breathing shallow, each inhale a battle against her own body. Her once beautiful gray coat was now dull and patchy, with clumps of fur missing and skin raw from scratching. Her face was swollen around one eye, where a tumor had grown so large it almost seemed to weigh her head down. Parasites clung to her skin like a second coat, moving slowly, feeding. It was worse than any of them had imagined, but it was the cub that broke them. Tucked close to its mother's belly, the little one couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. Its eyes were open, wide and frightened, but there was no sound. No whimper, no cry. Just a small, fragile body pressed against the only warmth it knew. It had the same parasites clinging to its thin coat, and a strange rash had formed along its back, likely a reaction to whatever sickness was spreading between them. Maya crouched low, her heart in her throat. We need to get them out, now. But, as she reached forward, the mother let out a low, guttural growl, not loud, but clear, protective, fierce even in her broken state. Her body trembled with the effort, but her message was unmistakable. Don't come near my baby. Dan held up a hand to Maya, signaling her to pause. She's still got fight in her, he murmured. She's scared. She thinks we're a threat. Maya nodded, her voice soft. We need to show her we're not. The rescue truck rolled through the winding road, tires crunching over gravel as the forest slowly faded behind them. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Maya didn't take her eyes off the cub for even a second. She could feel its tiny chest rise and fall beneath the blanket, each breath weak and uneven. It was alive, but just barely. The mother lay stretched on the padded floor of the truck bed, still unconscious, her breathing raspy, the tumor around her eye swollen and inflamed. Every few minutes, she let out a soft groan in her sleep, like her body was still fighting even while her mind rested. Aaliyah checked the equipment, making sure everything was in place for when they arrived at the wildlife sanctuary. It was a small facility, but fully equipped to handle emergencies like this, though none of them had ever seen a case so extreme. Parasites were common in wild animals, sure, but this was different. The infestation was so heavy, the wounds so deep, and the tumor. It wasn't just a lump. It had veins, discolored patches, and seemed to grow with every passing day. Something was wrong, very wrong. By the time they arrived, the team at the sanctuary was already prepped. A pair of vets, Dr. Lin and Dr. Torres, met them at the gate. Both were seasoned, calm under pressure, and their expressions didn't change much until they saw the wolf. Then, their eyes widened. "She's in worse shape than we expected," Dr. Lin muttered as they gently transferred the wolf to a stretcher. "What's that on her skin? It's like they're embedded." "We think they've been feeding off her for weeks, maybe more," Maya said, her voice tight. "She was protecting the cub, probably never left its side." Dr. Torres knelt next, to the cub, and lifted the blanket slightly. The little body trembled. "He's dehydrated, malnourished, and the rash, that's not from the parasites. Could be an infection, could be something worse." The forest looked different at sunrise. What was once quiet and calm now felt thick with anticipation, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Maya, Dan, and Aliyah moved carefully through the underbrush, retracing their path from the first rescue. Every step felt heavier now. The air was colder, the light dimmer, and their thoughts weighed down by the image of Luna's condition back at the sanctuary. Time was running out, for her and for Ash. They reached the same clearing where they had found Luna days earlier. Everything was still. The broken branches and scattered fur remained, untouched. But this time, something was different. Prints. Fresh ones, bigger than Luna's. Multiple sets. Dan crouched beside one. "This isn't her. These are fresh and large." Maya scanned the trees. She was trying to protect Ash. Maybe she wasn't the only one infected. Before anyone could answer, a low growl echoed through the trees, not far off, followed by another. And then silence. The team tensed, hands hovering near their tranquilizer gear, hearts thudding in their chests. Then, from behind a thick cluster of trees, a shadow emerged. A second wolf. It was thinner, its fur darker, but it shared the same sunken eyes, the same sores across its body. Parasites crawled visibly along its neck, and a large, jagged scar ran down its back. It didn't attack, but it didn't retreat either. It just watched, unblinking. Then it limped forward and dropped something onto the ground. A clump of fur, a dead rabbit, an offering. Aliyah whispered, "It's not hunting. It's showing trust?" The wolf gave a final look at Maya, then turned and disappeared back into the forest. None of them spoke. Whatever that was, it wasn't normal behavior. It felt like a message, a warning, or maybe a plea. When they returned to the sanctuary, Maya rushed straight to Luna. Her condition had worsened, her fever spiking, her breathing shallow. Dr. Lin had prepped the operating room for emergency surgery. It was their last chance to save her. The team watched from the window as the tumor was carefully removed. It wasn't just tissue. It was wrapped around muscle, nerves, and worse, it was pulsing, as if alive. The inside revealed something shocking. Embedded inside the mass were hundreds of tiny parasite eggs, tightly packed, almost like a hive. No one had seen anything like it. The theory became clear. These parasites weren't just feeding. They were reproducing inside the host, accelerating tumors, weakening immune systems, and eventually taking full control. Luna hadn't just been sick. She'd been used. The vet team worked quickly, flushing the area, removing all signs of infestation, and stitching her back up. The room was silent until they finally heard it, a soft, steady heartbeat on the monitor. She had made it through. Meanwhile, Ash had taken a turn. His fever climbed rapidly, and his tiny body struggled to keep up. But something had changed, in him too. As Luna recovered, he began responding to her presence. He cried less. He moved closer to her. Their bond, stronger than anything the sickness could touch, seemed to be his lifeline. Over the next several days, recovery became the focus. Luna's strength returned slowly, and the swelling around her eye began to fade. Ash started eating on his own and even let out a tiny bark when Maya walked into the room. It was the first sound of playfulness they'd heard. As the team continued their research, they made a discovery that brought everything together. The strange parasite wasn't a new species. It was a mutated version of a forest parasite previously found in sick deer. A local illegal farm, abandoned months ago, had improperly disposed of medical waste, including old antibiotics and hormone treatments. That pollution had leaked into the soil, infecting small rodents and insects, and eventually made its way into the food chain. Luna and her pack were likely exposed through prey. The pieces fell into place. The tumors, the aggression, the strange behavior. All of it had been triggered by something entirely human. The second wolf they saw in the woods? Likely another member of Luna's pack, infected, but not beyond saving.